All right, everyone. Keep in mind that we was Kangs, built the pyramids and stuff like that. The No Kangs movement is really just stupid at this point. It failed to achieve any of its apparent primary goals. And then you have the whole Portland Pepe thing, so we got to talk about that separately. That's so cringe. We've got to make an entirely separate video about that one. And the idea is, of course, Donald Trump is trying to be like a dictator and stuff. He responded by trolling these people with an AI generated meme and then pointing out to the press, of course, subsequently, I'm not a king. I work my ass off. He is fundamentally correct in this. I'm wondering, it would be funny to go to the one of the No Kings things. No King's things. Hey, it rhymes all the time. It's sublime. It would be funny to ask them, like, well, can you name the top examples about why Donald Trump is authoritarian? This term, by the way, monstrously misused on, well, all sides of the political aisle. Everyone is afraid of authoritarianism. They just can't agree on what authoritarianism actually is. It's quite clear in the puristic sense, but nobody seems to really recognize that or care. Hmm. Clanking with some jam and bean, Yunnan jig, of course, as usual. Uh, there is no authoritarianism going on. Enforcing pre-existing border policies that were in some cases literally minted by liberal administrations is not authoritarianism. Giving you more of your money and taking less of it for government expenditure is not authoritarianism. Shutting down the government because other people are completely unwilling to negotiate with you, and it does take two to tango, is not a form of authoritarianism. The government of the United States, in my opinion, has been, and unfortunately likely will continue to be, authoritarian in nature. That is, I would like a government that is much more absent, much more scant than the one we've got. We finally get, though, a president who is rolling back the bureaucracy. It's sort of a soft reset, sort of like first term Reagan. He got called a tyrant as well, I would know. We finally get that, and then people start complaining about it. And then you've got the aspect of the size of the actual attendance. Supposedly, there were 7 million people that turned out to protest. This is a small proportion even of those people who are dedicated Democratic partisans. This is a small number of gatherings. I saw the one here in Rutland, for example. Keep in mind, again, while Rutland is like the swing state of the state, it's still a little bit blue. This is a blue state. There were maybe 150 people that showed up. I think I'm being generous when I say 150. It's probably a bit lower than that. It was completely unimpressive. Meanwhile, you've got counter protesting and all sorts of other stuff going on. Although I would know, there weren't that many counter protests. I think I know why. Because leftists have been blowing people's heads off and assaulting them on a regular basis. So I think a lot of people say, well, it's not worth the effort, unless you can show up with a small army or something like that. And then you're the ones that get arrested, of course, if you do anything, if any rough stuff happens. It's really not worth it. So I think that that also happens. But I think it would be hilarious to linguistically hijack this movement and make it the No Kangs movement. I think that 4chan could probably get that going. I'm sure that the ADL would love reporting on that one. You can include milk. Everyone shows up with MAGA flags and gallons of, whole milk or something like that. It would be fucking hysterical, actually. Much like the leftists trying to appropriate Pepe at the moment. This is becoming confusing to me. I've been doing political commentary for a long time. I can't understand, I cannot comprehend the logic behind this so-called movement. It just doesn't make any sense. Donald Trump has been effectively cock-blocked even by his own party, let alone by the judiciary system over and over again. He barely needs to exist. He can't even stand up out of his chair without somebody saying it's unconstitutional. How is this a king? Democratically elected individual. He won both the popular and the electoral vote, so you can't bitch about that. The policies, many of them at least, that he's pursuing are popular. It's funny. For example, MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, led by mainly RFK Jr., but of course in coordination with the Trump administration at large. New polling out. Most Americans do not support MAHA, but they do support the actual ideology of MAHA. And here's where the devil's in the details. A lot of times things are labeled or ideologically adjacent to a party, to a religion, something like that. And so people will actually support the actual cause, but they can't support the actual movement behind it simply because it has political, religious, etc. connotations. This is the case with Maha, for example. RFK Jr. taking a beating, despite the fact that he's saying things that liberals have been saying for goddamn decades. It's very, very interesting who supports and does not support him. Gun control. Look at that right now. Leftoids right now are telling one another to arm up because of the ICE raids and stuff like that. Would have been easier if you had listened to those of us who were always on board with the right to self-defend, because it'd be easier to get a gun and defend yourself now, wouldn't it? It's very interesting. You've cut off your nose to spite your face once again. And don't get me wrong, these kind of foibles are not just on the left. The right wing does the same thing. Again, another reason I'm not a conservative. Hey, we want to get rid of that filibuster. Oh shit, liberals are in charge now and the filibuster's gone? That's a good idea. In that particular case, it was the mainstay Democrats that eliminated it for certain nominees. But the Republicans, they are following suit. Some of them that want to bypass the Senate Democrats at the moment. I warn once again against this. It will bite you in the ass. It is pragmatic at the time, but it will not be pragmatic in 10 years. You need to understand this. It's called playing the long game. In politics, a lot of people don't understand this basic premise. This particular movement, though, is just so vastly, wildly stupid and people are marching around dancing. There were people on unicycles or some shit, and then there are people wearing fucking dinosaur costumes and stuff. It's almost like they're trying to knock off all the memes that were already popularized, but the memes were popularized like half a decade ago or more and stuff like that. But they're trying to use them for their own purposes. The left can't meme. I hate to tell you this, but it is definitely a reality. At this point, I mean, you've been completely outflanked. The No Kings movement, nobody's trying to make Trump a king. They make a big deal about it on the legacy media. Oh, Trump supporters want him to be an emperor. He's depicting himself with a crown on and stuff. Nobody is seriously, legitimately trying to make Trump a dictator. Neither is Trump, by the way. It's just people playing make-believe as though that was some sort of entrenched goal. It's literally make-believe. It's a bunch of LARPing. Nobody's trying to subjugate you. If anything, I would think an inception of a U.S. administration that is more averse to sending you off to die in a desert somewhere or a jungle or something, that wants to take less of your money, regulate you less, and have generally less of a presence in your life, unless it's regarding immigration, in which case you're regarding people that are illegally in the country, so not U.S. citizens and residents at all. Where's the authoritarianism? I'm just not seeing it. I don't understand exactly what your beef is. They'll talk about you know, various agendas from right-wing groups that Trump doesn't even generally support without regards to immigration anyway, as though this was some big thing. But they don't even know what those agendas are. They've never even read any of the manifestos, it seems. You ask them questions about these things, and I have, mostly digitally. Although I did talk to a few people at the No Kangs thing in Rutland. That was, before the major gathering the other day. They seem generally respectful, so it's no problem. They have the right to express themselves, right? But people can't answer basic questions with regards to why they don't even like Donald Trump. Mostly it just boils down to, well, he's a pig-headed authoritarian. Okay, but why? Can you give me your top 3 reasons how he's being authoritarian? Well, no, he's evil. Okay, well, that tells me a lot. Okay, he's a Nazi. Okay, he's an evil, fat, retarded Nazi. All right, now evince your point because those points are entirely subjective. This happens often in politics. It also happens, by the way, towards left wing individuals. Not everyone who disliked Joe Biden, as I myself did, could give you a formulaic reason why they actually disliked him. Jean Pierre, of course, coming out and leaving the Democratic Party. Oh, God, we'll be talking about that later. Pointing out some of the people that had a problem with Biden. They couldn't give you a reason why they disliked Biden. I could, but that's not everyone. Most of you could, but some people they just don't like him because he's got a D after his name. I didn't like him because he couldn't even walk across the stage and massively inflated the currency and helped start several wars and botched our Afghanistan withdrawal. See, I've got reasons why I disapproved of him. But when I ask people why they disapprove of Donald Trump, people who are, wearing the frog costumes and stuff, I find that a lot of these people are simply not capable of giving me any meaningful reason. It's basically nothing more than a regurgitation of CNN. Or it's basically just, well, Orange Man's self-evidently bad. I don't need to give you any further evidence. He's just an evil man who's trying to destroy the democracy that elected him, which again doesn't really make a lot of sense. But that's the claim that is made fundamentally. So the No Kangs movement, as we're going to begin calling it, because trust me, it's a good idea memetically. Um, I think that it's going to peter out pretty quickly. It's going to be a little bit like a short-lived version of Occupy, and it'll be hilarious to watch what happens because at some point the Democrats themselves will probably start disowning it because it's going to spiral. It's quite clear that it will politically and ideologically spiral, and eventually it will become dead weight. That's about all. Peace out.